Let's do this. The Cult of Hockey podcast by the faithful and for the faithful. I'm David Staples of the Edmonton Journal, and I'm here today with Kurt Leavins. Welcome, Kurt.
Hey, Dave. How are you doing?
I am doing fine, Kurt. Doing fine. That was a very satisfying Oilers win. They even got a smile out of Leon Draisaitl at the end of the game, yakking on the bench. That was funny.
Yeah, I say somewhere in my game grades, I don't really think this one was ever in any serious doubt tonight.
You never know until they got that third goal, Kurt.
I never felt like there was a risk of losing this one tonight. I'm just telling you what my gut feel was.
I wasn't sure until they put in the third goal. Then I thought, yeah, they're gonna very likely. There wasn't a lot of drama in the third period. Put it that way. The Oilers did a very good job of shutting down that game.
Yeah, and for the people who claim that there's no negative, I heard a bit of commentary before the game. Back-to-backs doesn't mean anything anymore. That's bull. Of course it means something. It's just like, Jesus. One team played the night before for 60 minutes and the other one didn't. Like, come on, use your head. That's just not reasonable.
They're still human, and they got to either take a bus ride or a plane ride from Calgary. Like, it's miserable. Traveling is miserable.
Yeah, and you have less
rooms packing up. Like, the whole thing is miserable. Like, it's just tiring, the whole thing.
And less rest and recovery time. It's just to suggest that's just like you're just being contrarian if you're saying that. Maybe it's less of a factor than it used to be. Okay, but it's still a factor.
One of the trends in fitness, and it has been for some time, is just to focus on sleep. And I mean, some teams have worn like watches to record their sleep. I think when Mike Gillis was GM of the Vancouver Canucks, they did that for a while. So it's been a while, but like it's just becoming more and more known how important rest, recovery, sleep is. And when these guys are on the move, they're not getting their sleep or it's fractured. Yep. So no, back-to-back games are huge. Kurt, the grade A shots were 13-11 for Detroit. A little bit of score effects there, although there was a lot of it that came on the power play for Detroit. But the 5 alarm shots were 7-5 for the Oilers. So when it came to the very, very best shots, and you know, like the 5 alarm shots go in 33% of the time. The grade A shots that there are 5 alarm shots are a subset of grade A shots. The grade A shots that aren't 5 alarm shots, like all the rest of them, about half of them, they only go in about, let's say, 13 to 14% of the time. So they average out to 22% of the shots. 22% of the grade A shots go in. But the non-5 alarmers are much less dangerous. So the fact that the Oilers had more 5 alarm shots in this game was significant. Very significant. Kurt, 2 good things, 2 bad things, and 2 numbers. What is your good thing?
Well, my good thing is Zach Hyman. And in a way, I'm picking the low-hanging fruit because he scored the hat trick tonight. But I think we have to go all the way back to the playoffs last year and the Dallas series when Zach Hyman broke his wrist and missed the rest of the playoffs. And despite a whole lot of chatter about him being close to ready to go by the regular season, he wasn't. It was a long, difficult recovery by all accounts. And certainly over the first 25 games of the season, while we all love Zach Hyman, I think we all agree we weren't seeing the usual Zach Hyman. And I think it would be fair to wonder, maybe will we ever again? Because a big part of this guy's game is shoveling pucks on net in tight. And if you've got a compromised wrist, can you ever be the same player again? So within this game, of course, the hat trick was very consequential. Over the long term, though, if this is a sign that Zach Hyman is feeling it again, I actually write in the game grades tonight, is he back? I think he's back. Because up until this point in the season, while he's had, a good impact on many games, he hasn't been the Zach Hyman of old. Tonight he looked like that. And if that is in fact accurate, it's a very good sign of things to come for the Oilers.
There was a couple games ago, Kurt, where he made a rush in and made a backhand shot, top shelf, on the rush. And that was the first moment that I thought, oh, okay, this might turn out okay. Because that was a real indication of maybe some good wrist strength and flexion and ability to raise a shot in a stressful moment. And tonight built on that. So we'll have to see, like he's never, what did he score that 1 year? 54 goals, something like that. And that was 2 years ago.
In the regular season.
In the regular season.
Yeah.
And then last year in the playoffs, he was close to the Oilers' best forward, which is saying a lot when you have McDavid and Draisaitl.
I'd say he was.
Yeah, and just because of his hitting, the way he was forcing the game was extraordinary. And man, did they miss him in the final. And that's a thing we've talked about a lot in the past. Kurt, I noticed when the power play wasn't working last game, the thought that was in my head heading in tonight was they've got to get it down low to Hyman. Like when the power play is really working, they're working with Zach Hyman down low on some dangerous shots. And he hadn't been a big part of it in that game. And maybe for a couple of games before then, they hadn't really been looking for him, going to him. And so that's not what happened tonight, though. I mean, that first goal, two absolutely incredible alligator blood passes by Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid. Just the amount of calm they have. All the best players have that calm. They just know what they're doing out there. They just have such a feel for the game, how much time they have, how much space. They're looking for plays to develop. They're a step ahead of everybody else. And Draisaitl got that puck through to McDavid, and then McDavid just hung on. Like a lesser player would have fired it right away on net. Maybe
terrific patience.
Maybe would have scored because it was a 5-alarm shot if he did shoot it as soon as he got it. But he held on, and then he found Zach Hyman, who went to the net with his stick on the ice. That's always a wonderful thing.
It's what you teach kids how to do, right? And here he is in the NHL all these years later, and it still pays dividends.
Here's
and as good as go ahead.
Oh, you go ahead. Finish your thought.
Well, I was going to talk about the next goal because it's nice.
I was going to ask you about. Do you think McDavid saw Hyman when he made that? Do you think he
on the next goal? You mean
someone was there on the next goal?
Oh yeah, I don't know if he saw him, but he knew he was there.
He did know he was there. I agree.
Yeah, and look, when you watch great players play with great players, they don't need to see you there. They can sense you're there, and some people will call bullshit on that. I'm here to tell you it's a thing. Great players have a sense of where other great players are on the ice. They just do. And in this case, I mean, McDavid, the puck is up above his shoulders, and in the span of about 3/4 of a second, he knocks it down and backhands it through his legs right on the tape for Hyman in the slot. Bing, bang, boom. Like, what a play. Like, come on. That's just not fair to the Red Wings. Todd McClellan must be wondering what he ate for breakfast this morning to deserve that. Like, ouch. Just tremendous. What high skill.
I have no idea what it is to be a great player, Kurt. I know what it is to be a beer league player. And every second I have the puck on my stick in the offensive end, my eyes start to get more blurry and more watery until about 5 seconds on my stick, I'm almost blind. I have just a little point of vision ahead of me, and it's narrowing all the time. But these guys, there's just no doubt about it. He knew he was there. He knew what he was doing. He knocked the puck down. He had to be looking at the puck to do the hand-eye thing to knock it down. But then he immediately went into a spin move to give himself time and space, and then he put it between his legs as if I don't know if it was planned or if that was just completely improvised in the moment. I think it was.
Would have been instinct, I imagine. Yeah.
Yeah, just an instinctive thing. Okay, time and space, put it between my legs, and bam, right in the net from Hyman. What a brilliant play by Connor McDavid.
Agree.
Team Canada for Zach Hyman. Kurt, listen, I know I have my Oilers goggles on. I just think he should be on Team Canada. At this point, like he is playing, like in terms of creating and defending against grade A shots, he is playing out of this world good right now. And so now the goal scoring is coming.
Yeah,
he should be there with McDavid, and he won't be, and it'll be Team Canada's loss.
Yeah, well, I'll add this to it. You know, he's not penalty killing for the Oilers this year, but on a club like Team Canada, he'd be a prime candidate to be a penalty killer because he is a good one. He is very smart and very responsible. So he could fill that role as well as being the guy who's played with McDavid ever since he came to Edmonton for the most part. So, in principle, I agree that if you're just picking the best players, he deserves to be in the team. It was just such a late start for him, and I think that's going to end up working against him.
It drives me crazy that two of the best players, the very best players in the playoffs, Bouchard and Hyman, won't be on this team. And I just don't think they put enough weight on what happened like under the most pressure the NHL has is the playoffs.
Yeah.
And these guys have been dominant playoff players year in, year out. They should be on Team Canada. Like it's like some winger from a team that's never made the playoffs. There's gonna be players like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not on it. Like,
well, look, I think you make a very defensible case, and I have to chuckle when I listen to some former NHL defensemen argue that Evan Bouchard, shouldn't be on Team Canada because they don't like how he defends. Well, most of those players never even approached Evan Bouchard's level of skill. So you have to wonder, what exactly is at play in their analysis? And look, I can be as frustrated with Evan at times as anybody else, but other than Cale Makar, is there a more gifted offensive defenseman in the NHL than Evan Bouchard? I'm not sure there is.
Well, there might be Quinn Hughes would be in
Maybe.
the conversation.
So then there's three, but
there's three.
And only two of them qualify for Team Canada. So
Bouchard had a terrible game the other night, and everyone was on his case again. And he actually wasn't that good on defense again tonight, if I'm completely honest. He and Ekholm, that partnership, had a little trouble giving up some grade A shots. But
I thought Ekholm was very good. I thought Bouchard struggled a little
Bouchard
bit. So
did.
yeah.
Gary Galley, after that terrible game, the former NHL defenseman, who was a really good defenseman, he played like 1,000 games over a 20-year career, 1,100 games. He was on the Kipper and Bourne show talking about Bouchard, and he played for a time with Ray Bourque in Boston. And he told this funny story where the other players on the team taunted Ray Bourque by calling him Ray Giveaway, because he would try these passes up the middle of the ice constantly, and they would get picked off. And one time, Mike Milbury came charging in the room and says, once every game, Ray, once every game, you have this turnover right up the middle. But Galley said, like, the thing about Ray Bourque is he didn't care. He just kept making those plays. And he would then thread passes right up the middle, right through two sets of skates, right under the stick of a breaking teammate for a breakaway. Wow. And that's what the great players do. Brian Lawton's point was, another former NHLer, like, what are you asking of Evan Bouchard? You're not asking him to be the shutdown third pairing guy who makes no mistakes. You're asking him to be the quarterback of a puck possession team, to constantly carry the puck, move the puck, handle the puck, possess the puck, make plays with the puck. And so I don't like the turnover plays they're gonna happen. The ones I don't like are he can be a little slow and a little soft on defense, like in his own zone. He can be slow to players
in the regular season. He can
slot, and I think that's something he needs to work on.
Yeah,
he doesn't. I'm not worried about his puck play with the puck. He is a
but
brilliant
as you say,
player.
David, he's a different defensive player in the playoffs. He is. We've seen it 2 years running. Right.
He's quicker than right. He gets on guys. There's often a heartbeat where you're thinking, get on him, Evan. Like, cover that guy in the slot. It happened again tonight.
Yeah.
And, he's leaving. But he's in the playoffs. That's much more rare.
Yeah. And I do believe the ice water in his veins, part of his personality that enables him to pick out and make those high-end defensive plays, do lend to some defensive miscues and some defensive indifference as well. Yeah. But at the end of the day, and I've thought about this a fair bit, you're not going to change who Evan Bouchard is as a person. This is who he is. This is how he's wired. So what you do is you play to his strengths and you get that out of them. look, at the end of the day, in terms of Team Canada, I think they're nuts if they don't bring him as their seventh defenseman. And if Makar gets hurt, then Bouchard goes into the lineup and runs your power play.
Yeah.
How do you lose by doing that? I wouldn't understand.
I mean, are you going to put Travis Sanheim or Colton Parayko or
Exactly.
or even Shea Theodore? Like, he's a good offensive player. Or Josh Morrissey. They're good offensive players, but they're not Evan
great.
Bouchard.
They're not great.
And
Yep,
it
I
almost
agree.
hurt them last time, right?
Mhm.
Like Makar did get
Yep.
hurt. So
Yeah, that's why I think Bouchard as a 7 is defensible, right? Like maybe he only plays a game or two, but he's there. So if Makar, who I think you logically want to run your power play,
yes,
if he gets hurt, God forbid, you don't want that. But then you can put in a guy like Bouchard, who is a superstar power play defenseman.
yeah, they can bring 8 defensemen. So
Yeah,
like,
so
he
why
should be
not
running the
bring a Rod Langway and bring Bouchard as your 7 and your 8? Like, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway, if you and I ran that team, Dave.
Maybe they'll surprise us. Maybe
And ask us to? No.
Oh,
just kidding.
not that. No, but
No, I'm just
kick
kidding.
Hyman and Bouchard.
Yeah,
if
we'll
McDavid
see.
has been, and McDavid should say, call them up. McDavid should use the clout he's developed and say, listen, buddies, these 2 guys are on the team. We're going to win this, and I guarantee you we're going to win. Like, make that call.
Yeah. They should bring one of them. They should bring one of them.
Kurt, my good thing is actually 2 really good defensive plays. This was a pretty good defensive game, like limiting to Detroit to 5 alarm shots. That's a good game. There was, and part of the reason they did that was there was one play, I think it was on the power play, there had been a shot, I think it was by Finney, and it bounced around a little bit, and it bounced, Skinner was down, and it bounced to a wide open area right in front of the net, and a Detroit player was about to slam it in. But Kulak got down and blocked the shot a little bit. Mm-hmm. And then there was still danger, and Janmark took the guy's stick. It was 2 great defensive hockey plays by 2 pretty solid NHL defenders. Janmark actually has been playing as good as he's ever played for the Oilers, except in the playoffs in 2024. Like this, in terms of regular season play, he's played really well since he got back, which is a great surprise. I wasn't expecting that because he's 33 or 34, but he's had a good stretch of play, and that was an excellent play between him and Kulak. The next one was this was a rush by Finney, and Draisaitl came back hard and almost knocked it off his stick. But Emberson did it the last second, right in front of Skinner, prevented a shot, maybe a goal. So 2 huge defensive plays. And Skinner had a really good game.
He did.
There was lots of outside shots. He wasn't giving up many rebounds. He was swallowing them all up.
Yep.
But those kinds of plays really help a goalie a lot. You know, when you stop that one in the slot on the power play, that was going in the net. Skinner was down and out, and that was going to go in, and they stopped it. And then the breakaway, you never know what's going to happen. Like it's a 5 alarm shot. They've got a 33% chance of going in, and suddenly that's a different game if it does. So excellent defensive work.
Yeah. When you look at the 5-on-5 possession stats tonight, you could be forgiven for thinking that the Oilers didn't play very well. The Red Wings had a bit of ozone time for sure, but I really felt like they spent a lot of that time on the periphery. I thought Edmonton did a good job of staying within their zone, not breaking down, not chasing too much. We'll get into the one time when they did get chasing and it burnt them in a minute. But I really thought it was a sound, smart defensive effort up and down the lineup tonight. And so little plays like that one you mentioned by Kulak, I noted that in my game grades. I gave Kulak quite a good grade. I thought he was really quite good tonight. There was one other play where there was a very long, like it was over a minute and a half shift in the Oilers' end. And the cycle just seemed endless. Yeah. It was in the first period. And then all of a sudden it was young Finney who had the puck behind the net. And Matthias Ekholm absolutely lowered the boom on him. Just like, boom, down he went. Now, credit to the kid. He bounced right back up again. But you know what? That's what you have Matthias Ekholm for. He should be the cycle killer, and he stepped in there and made a big difference. There were other plays like the one that you described as well. through the forward ranks and on the defense core. I thought Ty Emberson had a pretty solid game tonight, had a couple shot blocks at key moments in the game as well. So yeah, a good defensive game is usually made up by dozens and dozens of good, smart little plays, and I think we saw a lot of that tonight.
We did. Kurt, your bad thing.
Well, honestly, there weren't a lot of bad things tonight. I thought the Oilers were quite good, and even Detroit, quite frankly, I thought played a pretty decent hockey game considering it was their second of back-to-backs on the road. I thought it was a pretty well-played hockey game. Maybe not exciting, but well played, well executed. I will pick on at the time was the 2-1 goal, and I know you felt if at any point this game was in question, that's probably when it was. And look, I think that's fair of you to see that. But it's interesting. I saw two specific decisions made on that goal that caused that goal. One was on Darnell Nurse, who, generally speaking, I thought was quite solid tonight. That was one of the rare moments where I thought Darnell tried to do too much. He got chasing as Detroit crossed over the blue line. Instead of just staying on his side and gapping his man, he charged into the middle and tried to force the play. And then an unfortunate accident happened. Is he and Regula ran into one another. Nurse went flying, Regula got knocked off kilter, and that's really what opened up the slot down the middle for the Red Wings on that play, right? If Darnell doesn't try to do too much on that play, it's a 3-on-3, right? He turned a nothing play into a something play by just trying to do too much. And then Trent Frederick, who at times tonight I thought was coming, he had 6 hits tonight, but he was late getting back to his man in front and didn't quite get to him in time, and his guy was the guy that scored. So a very solid defensive effort tonight for the Oilers, but you can always pick a circumstance where you think they could have and should have been better, and I think that was the most obvious one.
In my numbers, I'm going to talk about Darnell Nurse's fairly dramatic improvement in the last 10 games. Mm-hmm. And it's been marked by him not making plays like that. Right. It was, as you say, Kurt, that was a 3-on-3, and he turned nothing into something by a bad decision, over-aggressive. And he's in this faction of Oiler defenders who are over-aggressive, the puck chasers. And he chased the puck at center ice and threw himself out of position and then wiped out his teammate, or threw his teammate Regula off kilter. So this is... when he's at his worst, this is what he does. When he's at his best, he just stays in his lane there, and there's nothing that comes from it. Frederick's play on that, it was the classic failed back check, where a guy's coming back, and if he just kept moving his legs till he got on the right side of his check, he would succeed.
He was doing the right thing.
They get within arm's reach of the guy, and they start coasting, and they stop skating. Yeah. Like, I don't know how you could teach that to players, to just keep skating until they're on the right side of their check, which is between their check and the Oilers' net. They just have to take 2 more strides and they could do it, but they never do. They start, I guess they get close enough and they start reading the play, watching the play. Anyway, it's a constant thing I've seen over the years, and he did it tonight, and it's a human mistake.
There's a phrase you hear from coaches everywhere, which is skate through your check. That's what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Take those last 2 strides. Skate through your check.
Yeah, it was typical of Decade of Darkness back checking. I mean, it was just constant in the Decade of Darkness, guys doing that. It was just like it was a mark of the Oilers in that time. And it is a mental error. You're right. Like it's something that coaches try to coach, and they don't always get through to the players. My bad thing, Kurt, again, there wasn't a lot of bad, but I did notice the third line at even strength struggling. Not getting a lot done. Not getting anything done on the attack. They didn't create one grade A shot. This is Henrique, Janmark, and Frederick at even strength. And the fourth line, Tomasek, Mangiapane, and Lazar created 2 grade A shots. One by Tomasek in the first, one by Mangiapane in the third. They look good. Mm-hmm. The third line didn't look good. So much so that and Henrik's been trending down a little bit. And I do think in the playoffs, the Oilers are going to be at their best when Adam Henrique is a penalty kill specialist in your fourth line center. Janmark, I think he's probably a fourth liner in the playoffs as well. And Frederick, I don't know. Like everyone, I keep hearing people say this line about Frederick. Oh, he's playing better. And it was said tonight on the broadcast, he's playing better. I don't believe it. Like, I don't believe that anymore. I want to hear someone say, Trent Frederick has put together a streak of 5 games where he has been killing it. And then I'm not looking for little spurts or this or hits or that. Like, I want to see him play 5 games in a row where he's a really good hockey player. And then I'll say, oh yeah, he's playing better, because he's not. And he's part of the problem on that, whatever line he's on right now, frankly. So yeah, I don't know. Like they've got to get more out of that group. And I personally, like, they called up Max Jones today, and Max Jones is another kind of grinder player. He can't, like, when he first came up, he had a couple great games last year for the Oilers, and then he just faded into the woodwork because he stopped hitting. Like, if he's hitting, he's a good player, but he just doesn't hit enough. I would have liked,
and never has.
Yeah,
and never has.
That's why he's not in the NHL, because he could be, right? But it's hard to do that. It takes all kinds of courage, and you get injured like Connor Clattenburg. Like, things happen to you when you play that kind of game. But I would have preferred them. Like, I think they need to have more skill actually on the bottom lines, and I would have liked to see Quinn Hudson called up, but they felt they needed, like, so I can see what they're thinking. Like, Hudson's killing it. He's still a rookie in the HL. You don't want to yo-yo these guys. He's the guy who's going to come up is going to do a lot of sitting. He's going to, if he gets in a game, he's going to play 6 minutes.
Yeah, he might not play at all, right?
Maybe it makes sense to bring Max Jones for that role, because he'll be super motivated and he'll hit for a few games, and that'll work. Whereas the rookie will just kind of sit, and then he'll go back down. And so I get the thinking around it, but the Oilers could use more oomph in their bottom 6, more skill, and Hudson would provide that. So, but I'm not really criticizing the decision, because I understand it on one level, but I just think this is a problem. They need some more skill down there. They need some people who can make more plays.
What I will say about Max Jones is, for a big man, he is a very good skater. He has very good straightaway speed. And if he would just skate through his check, like I just said, he'd probably play 75 games a year. But he doesn't, and that's why he's been in the AHL for Boston and why he's in the AHL for the Oilers. I don't disrespect him. He's a reasonable, pro player, but he's a tweener, right? I want to mention another guy who you did mention his name, Curtis Lazar, who I thought was really quite good tonight. He only played 946, but he had 4 hits, and he was 78% on faceoffs and a clean sheet on the PK. And he embodies the kind of veteran player that NHL coaches like to have on their fourth lines, because Curtis Lazar understands exactly what his role is on this team, and he plays to that. Some nights he reaches his potential, some nights he doesn't. That's why he's a fourth line player now. But he doesn't try. He stays within himself. He doesn't try to do too much. And as a result, coaches feel like they know that they can rely on him, and they know what to expect out of him. And they got a good performance out of him tonight.
I agree with that, Kurt. I agree. Jones's speed and size is why he was a first-round draft pick, right? Like, so he had that going on. As for Lazar, like, he did have a good game tonight. I agree with you. I can tell you, though, on that 2-on-1 with Tomasek, Cam Talbot probably would have bet his life Lazar was passing, because he looked like he was passing. Like, he never even faked a shot. Like, there's been a couple plays recently where Savoy's frozen the goalie by faking a shot and then passed it over. And McDavid will do that, Draisaitl will do that. But Lazar was all pass all the time on that rush. And because of that, Talbot got over there quite easily. It was still a difficult save, but
Was.
He knew there was not going to be a shot coming on that play. Kurt, what is your numero?
My numero uno is 11, 1, and 3. The Edmonton Oilers scored first tonight and won. When the Oilers have scored first this season, they are 11, 1, and 3. It's almost like they should score first.
Yeah. Did Jack Michaels mention that during the game, that stat? Jack is always mentioning stats during the game about how the team's done previously. And when he talks about like when the Oilers, it always feels like to me like he's jinxing the Oilers when it's something good about the Oilers. Like I like it when he says something bad about the Oilers because then it's a reverse jinx. But he loves to give those stats about like teams are so-and-so, wins and losses heading into the third under this situation and that situation.
I don't know where I got, but I had this before the game, so I don't think I got it from Jack. So so
he's always doing that.
Well, poor Jack. I feel for him sometimes because every so often you'll say, "Oh, Stuart Skinner's been solid tonight." Boom, like 8 seconds later. And of course, that has nothing to do with Jack. It's just bad luck. But,
I know. Yeah. My number. Okay, so 10 games ago, Darnell Nurse had one of his worst games as an Oiler. And for the first time that I can remember, he's got his major critics online, like from fans who just rip him. There's a faction of people who really can't stand him anymore. I think most Oiler fans are kind of on the fence. They know there's been really good periods with Nurse and there's been really bad periods. And there's frustration because the bad periods with Nurse have come in the playoffs, and that's not. We can't have that anymore. No. This playoff's really important for Darnell Nurse, and his future with the team. But so finally, after game 21, after this terrible game or run of games, the media got on Mark Spector in no uncertain terms. Bob Stauffer, Ryan Rishaug, they all ripped Nurse. And really went after him. And I'd never seen anything like that in the Edmonton media with Darnell Nurse. You see it with other players all the time, Evan Bouchard, Stuart Skinner, players like that are often at the sharp end of that spear. Nurse got it. And I've always wondered, Kurt, like who on the Oilers responds to who needs a pat on the back and who needs a kick in the ass? And I think Darnell Nurse may be in that category. He's the kind of guy who needs a kick in the ass because he got booted hard. And since then, Kurt, he has played way better. He's been way more physical. He's been like one of the complaints was he wasn't physical enough. He wasn't emotional enough. And the other one was he's running around chasing the puck and not covering the slot. Well, since then, he's been doing a way better job. He's been fierce. He's had a few fights. And he's at least one fight, and he's been hitting. So the physical play's been there, but more than that, this better decision making, the better, more focused, concentrated systems play, disciplined defensive play, and disciplined offensive play has been there, and his game has taken off. So in the first 21 games, according to the numbers at the Cult of Hockey on grade A shots, he contributed to 27 grade A shots at even strength and made mistakes on 58 against, so he was minus 21 in the first 21 games. He was minus 1 per game, grade A shots. Since then, in 10 games, he's contributed to 27 and made mistakes on 18. So he's plus 9 in the last. He's plus 1 per game. He's gone from minus 1 to plus 1, which is a huge difference. When you're minus 1 as a defenseman, grade A shots, you're a marginal NHL player. You're probably not going to hang on unless you've got a big long-term contract. They will get rid of you if you're minus 1. They always do, the Oilers. They don't hang on to even if it's like minus 0.8 below that, you're in trouble. Consistently, those players get cut. So he was in that category. If you're plus 1, well, there's never been a defenseman over a full season who's been plus 1. The closest was a player came to that, and all the years I've been doing that was Bouchard in the 2024 playoffs. He was plus 0.8 per game. He was just out of this world good. But we've never seen a player. So this is a high point for him, for Nurse. Thank goodness. It's about time. And this is what he's capable of when he plays disciplined hockey, when he doesn't try to do too much
Yep.
and plays within himself, because he can really be a good hockey player. And this is what's so frustrating about it. So maybe people shouldn't be like I don't know if the coaches and the mainstream media kind of is careful about criticizing him. The tonic seems to be telling the truth about his game. It wasn't, nothing they said was unfair or insulting. I don't think it was the unvarnished truth though, and it had to hurt, and it woke him up.
You know, there's an old saying in hockey that sometimes a player can have all the tools in the world but no toolbox. And that's not to suggest that the player isn't intelligent. It's that the player doesn't have a complete understanding about how to use the tools at his disposal. And I sometimes feel that way about Darnell Nurse, because when you just judge him by his tools, he should be a first pairing defenseman. Mm-hmm. He's a terrific skater, and not just in a straight line. He has very, very good, left to right play. He can transport he's not an especially good passer, but he can transport the puck very well. He has a very good sense of the play in front of him. He sometimes can have a bit of a wild shot in net, but he's also quite good at getting the puck through to the net. And when he's in an alley mood, he can be a tough guy to play against because he's big and he's strong and he's got a mean streak. And when you hear all that, you say, this should be one hell of a good defenseman. Yes, he should be. Yes, he should be.
And everyone's been saying it for years. Just try to do a little less, Darnell. Don't try to do everything on the ice.
Yeah.
And that's what he did on the goal against. He tried to the guy. It was Regula's man who cut across the middle of the ice.
Alec doesn't need your help, Darnell.
No,
you stay where you are.
Read the situation. It's a 3-on-3, as you said, Kurt. And there's no trouble. The guy's actually skating towards you. You don't have to go towards him. Mm-hmm. You're going to get him. So anyway, it's hockey is a very, very difficult game, and at the NHL, monstrously difficult.
Yeah.
But you're right, Kurt. That's what's so difficult about Nurse is that all those tools, that incredible skating ability, that agility that he has. He can rip off good passes. He can rip off good shots, but he's got to not try to get points. Doesn't have to, don't try to stop the defensive play. Let it come to you, especially in the zone. Cover the front of the net, which is what he's been doing the last 10 games. And all of last season, Kurt, most of last season, Darnell.
The regular season?
The regular season was consistently good.
I agree.
So it is great to see it. And the Oilers' defense in the last 10 games, I was talking about maybe bring back Paul Coffey. Well, the Oilers' defense in the last 10 games has been really good. It's been, and so they've got 3 pairings now that work with Regula, Nurse, Emberson and Kulak, and Ekholm and Bouchard. All 3 of those pairings are playing good hockey right now. And really good hockey, some of them. So this is huge for the Oilers. And they've got also 2 lines figured out. Maybe a 4th line, if tonight's any indication. That was an interesting 4th line. So maybe they've got much of their play is starting to get figured out and coming together, which gives me some optimism.
Agree.
Alrighty. Any final thoughts, Kurt, on tonight's game? Or
couple little ones. I really want to point out that Detroit breakaway early in the second period. And I think it's fair to say that for the most part this season, when you saw that unfolding, you go, oh, crap, here it comes. But Skinner made a terrific save, a really good save on that breakaway. And I think it's fair to say that through his struggles this season, Stu hasn't been making the saves that he wasn't supposed to make, right? Tonight, that's one that you would have forgiven him if it was a gone in. It was a clear-cut breakaway, but he didn't. He stoned him. And that was a pretty important juncture in the game. And so, Yeah, right. That's this could be a different game. It's 1-1. Suddenly the Red Wings' ears perk up. They don't feel quite as tired anymore. Maybe this turns out different. So, we've spent lots of time criticizing Stewart this year, and I think fairly so. So I kind of feel good about pointing out points in a game where he's been a difference maker in a good way, and he was on that play.
He really was, Kurt. And that was Bouchard who went for the puck in the air and missed it, and the other guy got it and went in on the breakaway.
Jump puck, right? Yeah.
If there had been a goal, it would have been the same old sinking feeling, probably not just from the fans, but maybe from the team itself. Like Evan and Stu again, mistakes, and here we go at 1-1.
Yeah, and that's a tough play for Bouchard, right? That's a tough play. I've been in that position. What do you do?
Well, in retrospect, what I was thinking of that. What should you do? Well, you would probably best not to play the puck, but play the man. Like play the man as if he's going to get the puck, and take him out. Like play his body.
Yeah. I didn't think he was in that position though. I felt for him on that play, and I'm sure there was legions of people going, "Oh, look at Bouchard." And it's like, no, I've been in that exact same situation, just not against NHL players, and it didn't turn out especially well for me either.
That was a really hard play. I agree.
Yeah, it was. But yeah, Stu made the big save. So,
alrighty. Anything else, Kurt?
No, I think that's it for me tonight.
Alrighty. I don't think I have got any other comments. They got a 5-game road trip ahead of them, starting in Toronto, 5:00 game on Saturday night, and then Montreal 5:00 game, and then they've got a tough road trip. It's like Pittsburgh and Minnesota and Boston.
And then after the Boston game, they're done with the East for the year. They're finished.
Wow. Then they come home and they play Vegas. What do you want on the road trip? Like out of those 6 games, Kurt, if they have 3 wins, 3 losses in those 6 games, I think that will be okay.
If they're 500, I'll be satisfied. 500. Any more than that's gravy. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great. But these are tough games. They're on the road. I think there's a chance they could be 3-2 on this road trip, a good chance. And then come home, we'll see what happens then against Vegas.
Well, that would be great. As of right now, they've got sole possession of the first wild card spot in the West. So
yeah, and they've been there for a week now. So good. It's not been a great start to the year, but there are some positive signs on this team. Yes. It's fair to say. And you need to have those. Like if they're really serious about trying to win the Stanley Cup this year, which they should be with McDavid and Draisaitl, you hope it's rounding into form, and it kind of is if you look at it just through the right angle with maybe
the proper lens
glasses with the right lens shade.
Yeah.
Kurt, thanks for talking tonight.
Real pleasure, Dave. Thank you.
And thanks everybody for listening. We have a lot of gratitude for having the wisest, sharpest, sanest hockey fans in the world who listen to the Cult of Hockey podcast. We are lucky. And in the meantime, and in between time, this has been another edition of the Cult of Hockey podcast.